Hi YouTube, I'm Aiman. Welcome back to one of my auto repair videos. In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove and replace the auxiliary water heater pump, which is down here. This is what it looks like. From a 2004 to 2009 Toyota Prius. So before we get started, I just want to talk about the pumps in the engine. So there are 4 pumps. There is the electric water pump down here. The coolant heat storage pump down here. Auxiliary water heater pump, which I already pointed out. And finally is the inverter coolant pump, which pumps coolant to the inverter, like the name says. And I think it's somewhere here. And it's a separate system from all the other 3, so you don't need to know too much about it. However, today we're working on the auxiliary water heater pump, and its function is to draw water from the coolant heat storage tank to the heater core. So we have a diagram right here, and we also have another diagram here, which we found off the internet. This one's a bit incorrect, so we drew up a new one. What the auxiliary water heater pump does is it draws hot water or hot coolant from the coolant heat storage tank, and it draws it all the way to the heater core, which provides heat to the cabin. And what the coolant heat storage tank does is it stores about 3 quarts of hot water or coolant. And what it does is it sends water to the heater core, but also sends water to the engine to warm it up to its normal operating temperature for fuel efficiency. So one of its functions is heating up the engine, and the other function is heating up the cabin. So the reason it's called the auxiliary water heater pump is because you don't need to use it in the summer, because you won't need to use your heating system in the summer because it's already hot. And that's why it's called auxiliary or additional, because it's only necessary in the winter. However, you still need to make sure that the pump is operational, because even in warm temperatures, the auxiliary water heater pump, if it's not working correctly, and this relates to our problem, then air bubbles will form. And since this is one whole system, if the auxiliary water heater pump doesn't work, then your car will overheat. Alright, so I'm sorry about all the explanations. I know some people like the explanations, but some people just want to get to operating on the car. So let's talk about it. So in order to access the water pump, you might be able to access it without removing any wires, but for the ease of being able to show it to you, and also because it's also a bit tough to get to the water pump already, we're going to remove some of these cables and hoses. However, before we even get to removing these hoses and cables, we first have to remove the cowl, which is this top part right here. It houses the windshield. We have a separate video on that, so go check that out before you do this. The next step is we're going to talk about the inverter. So the inverter is the electric part of the hybrid car. And in order to make sure that you're safe while doing this, you want to make sure that you disconnect the battery. We also have a separate clip on that, so we're probably going to put it at the end of the video. But let me just talk about the inverter. So it's high voltage. It's around 200 volts direct current. And as opposed to the regular battery, which grounds out to the car, the inverter is a loop, which means it doesn't ground out to anything. So touching it could potentially kill you. And you can already see here that a wire is potentially exposed. And when you're working on this car, make sure to, just as a precaution, to wear rubber gloves. But since this car had, we disconnected the battery about a few days ago. There's no voltage left in it, so I'm allowed to touch it. But just make sure that you're safe while doing this. So that being said, let's tackle all these cables. So first off, we're going to tackle these 2 orange cables at the top here. So you notice that they have these buttons that right here that loosen them. And what you want to do is you want to take a flathead. Or if you have enough strength, you could probably pull it out by yourself. But if you don't, then take a flathead screwdriver, push down, and just sort of wedge it in between. Like in between the screw and the cable is fine. And as you press, just sort of leverage it out. There we go. That's what it looks like. There's also one below it. Same deal. Oop. You have to make sure that we're especially careful that we don't break it because it's cold right now. So these parts might be brittle. Okay, there we go. So these are the 2 cables. So before we continue, let me just take a step back here. So in any normal case, when you're working with a high voltage inverter, before you disconnect any cables, like we did here, you want to check for voltage. So in order to do that, we have to take off the cover, and right now we're going to show you how to do that. So we're going to take our Milwaukee. Alright, so we took off the cover for two reasons. First off was to check for voltage, and second off was to remove this cable. Alright. So it looks like it should go through gently. I said gently. And that is what the cable looks like. By the way, set that aside after. And since those two functions are done now, we're going to make sure that we don't touch this or damage this electrical component right here by putting the cover back on. Because right now, make sure that we put it on gently. Because right now, we're going to be turning our attention to these cables back here. And it looks like there's 3 cables that we have to remove. There's this one, and one back here. So just you might be able to just take it out using your hand. It's a bit cold right now, so we might have to use a screwdriver to leverage it out, but yeah, we're gonna have to use a screwdriver. Let me get a flathead. We finally managed to loosen them and take them out. So first off, this one, so there is the button right here. So it would be in this direction. So let's set that aside for now. Then for this one, the button is right here, so we can just take that out. And for this one, the button is right here, so there should be no problem. So now we're gonna set these aside. Probably. Oh wait, not yet, but we're gonna take a look at what else we have to take out. So in the back, it's gonna be really hard to see, but there is another cable that we have to take out. It's this one right here, and we're not gonna be able to access that right now. So let's focus our attention to these two. So there's a bolt right here, and a bolt all the way down there. I need to, yeah. Alright, so there's a bolt all the way down there, so we're going to take those two out. And then after that, we're going to take out this hose. Now, since we're working with the water pump, you want to make sure that you do something about the coolant flow before you work on it. So the first more simple solution is to just drain the coolant. That's exactly what we did. We also have a separate video on that if you want to know how to do it. We'll link it in the description below. But another way to do it is you could take a clamp and clamp them. So you could clamp it right here, where it connects down here. So it runs all the way here, so you could clamp it probably right here, or somewhere down here, or I think there's a third place. Yeah, there's a third place, but I don't remember. So these clamps are really easy to use. First, you just open them, put them on the hose, and then close them. So we already drained the coolant, so we don't have to worry about that. So let me just angle this. Now, in order to take out this hose, all you have to do is take pliers and squeeze this clamp, and then move it. And when it's loosened, you want to sort of wiggle it out, and then you're going to be able to take the hose out. So let me take a pliers. And hopefully this isn't rusted too much, but alright, so I got a hold on it. Now we can wiggle it. Oh. Alright, so you probably want to use a long needle nose like we have right here. And let's look at this clamp. So when we use the pliers, it looks like this piece right here that juts out, it should go past this, and then it should lock in place. So it looks like it's a bit rusted, so it might not work, but let's see. Yeah, it's rusted, so it's not going to be able to get out easily. So even in this place, we can still do it. Just wiggle it out. Alright, so 3 things to note. So first off, to make it easier, we're going to put all of the cables to the side. So like we have all of these right here. We have full unrestricted access to the clamp. Another thing to note is don't touch the brake line at all. It's going to be a hassle if we break that. And finally, when dealing with the clamp itself, you want to take a special tool. Where is it? Oh. So this is called hose grip pliers. And what you want to do is, you can see that they have this circle right here. That's for the hose. And you want to open it up, loop it around the hose, and sort of just wiggle it out. So you should be able. You could also be able to do this by hand. Oh yeah, one other thing to note is that you can see right here we got the clamp to snap in place. So you can see the protrusion is right in that loop. Now we're going to be able to sort of wiggle it out. You can also do this by hand, but just make sure you're careful of this because it might snap back and bite you. Alright. There we go. Alright, so 2 more things to note is, first off, when you're moving it, when you're trying to take the hose out, it's always a good idea to move the clamp back so that there's less tension on the hose. And another thing to note is if you're not able to get it out, use lubricant. So we have Ruglide right here, which is a rubber lubricant. Since we're working with a rubber hose, that should make it easier to take out. So we have it in a spray bottle right here. So we're just gonna spray it. Make sure you don't get on the electrical components too much. And then you should be able to wiggle it out. So you can see that we're just about to take it out. And make sure you don't touch the brake lines. Oh. Yeah, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Woo. Alright, so I have small enough hands. I should be able to pull it out. There might be a bit of coolant left, so now it's just a matter of pushing it out. It's a bit rusted, I think. Alright. So there's... Oh! There we go. So let's see. There might be a bit of coolant coming out. So I got it off. Alright, so I got it off. There might be a bit of coolant. Yeah, I could see it. So just lay that aside for now. And now we can turn our attention to a nut to the bolts. So what we took out just now was the hose that was going to the heater core, according to this diagram. And now we're going to focus our attention to this hose right here, which goes to the coolant flow control valve, which then goes to the coolant head storage tank. So we're going to take pliers, and it might be a bit hard to angle it. But what you want to do is you want to angle it. So this one doesn't have a snap, but it should be easier to move it. So you're going to take your pliers. Can you see? I don't think you guys can see it. Yeah. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to press down. Oh, you guys can barely see it, but it's pressed down. And now you want to just finagle it back. Yeah, it's really hard to see. I might have to get the flashlight. But as you can see right now, it's set back. Let me get my flashlight. Alright, so this makes it easier to see. So we're able to press it down and move the clamp back, so it's right here. This one was actually easier to move than this other one. I guess it was looser. Now that that's out of the way, we're just gonna wiggle it back for now because it's gonna be a bit hard to take it out right now. Alright, so right now we're just gonna try to loosen the hose because it's gonna be difficult to take the hose out. So in order to take out the pump, we're going to first take out these 2 bolts, the ones I showed you earlier. These 2 bolts. And then we're going to take out this cable right here. It's all the way in the back. And then we're going to take out the fastener, which is right here, that connects to these wires. And then after that, after we take all those out, we should be able to push the pump forward and take out the hose. Alright, so first let's tackle the harder bolt to take out, which is the one in the back. So you're going to require a contraption. So we have a number 10 bolt, a extender, I think it's called a wobble socket, and another extender, and finally a ratchet. And we're just going to sort of loop it through. Make sure you don't touch the brake line too much. Then put it on. This might be a bit hard for you to see from your angle, but once you get it on, you should be able to take it out. Alright, so I have leverage on it. Now I'm taking it out. And if it's rusted, use PV Blaster on it. We have it right here. We already did it. And you want to let it sit if it has been too much. You want to let it sit for a few minutes if it's rusted a lot, which in our case it is. Whew. Use some elbow grease. The alternative is to use something simple like this, which is just a short ratchet with an extender. So right now I just have to loosen it. Hopefully I don't get out of here with some cuts, because when you go all the way, you're going to notice that you might hit your hand on these sharp metal edges. So I don't want to get this stuck, so I'm just going to take this out and see if I can do it by hand. Put that in there, and then there we go. And take it out. I'm sorry, you guys can't see it, but I'm taking it out. Alright, so now you guys can see that it's able to be taken out manually. Just put some elbow grease into it. And it's not too long, but in our case it's just rusted, which is why it's so hard to get out. And as you can see from that plop sound, you can see that. Let me see if I can retrieve it using the telescope. There it is. You can see that we got the bolt out. Right, let me try it again. Right here. There we go. That is what the bolt looks like. It's really short. And we're going to set this aside right here. Now we can turn our attention to the other one, which looks like it's not too restricted. Just make sure you get everything out of the way. We're going to take another 3-inch. Alright, so I think this can fit. So we just have our 12-inch right here. This is just straight up, so it doesn't matter what the length is. Just gotta loop it on. Okay. And then from here, just take it out. And then I think after a few turns, we should be able to take it out manually. Okay, I think we're able to take it out manually. Put this aside. You can really tell when you're able to take it out manually when you can feel it loosen. And there's not much give. Alright. Let me get to the telescope. And retrieve it. And that is what the second bolt looks like. Also has a washer on it. Make sure you don't forget that. So both of these bolts have washers with them, so make sure to you don't lose them. And now we're going to turn our attention to the cable in the back, as well as this fastener right here. So in order to get to that cable, it looks, where is it? Where's the, if we look at this orientation, the cable is right here. The button is on the back. So let's see if we can do it right now. It might be a bit hard. So from our position, it looks like we can't do it. So we're gonna have to take out this fastener first. And in order to do that, we're gonna take pliers. So in order to take out this fastener, we have a model right here. We're gonna make it easier for ourselves by moving the entire pump, since we took out the 2 bolts, to the side. Get a lot of free area. Alright, that gives us about 1 inch or 2 of space. And what you wanna do next is you wanna, so looking at this, it would be right here. So that means we have to loop where is it? There it is. So take angled pliers, sort of like this, and you want to sort of loop it around, under, and then you want to squeeze, and then take out this fastener. So putting that into practice, take your pliers, and because there's brake lines here, we're going to sort of angle it around, and get under this fastener. Can they see that? Okay. And then squeeze. Make sure it's in. And then you should be able to take it out. As long as you angle it properly. I think this is already out. Oh. There we go. So that's what the fastener looks like. I think I squeezed it a bit too hard. Alright, so an alternative is that instead of spending all that time trying to take it out, you could just use a pry bar to take it out, and if it gets destroyed, just have a replacement. They're easy to get. We have tons of these, actually. And so if this gets broken, just replace it with this. I'm not sure the alignment of wires matters. So now that we have that out, we can get this out of the way so that we can focus our attention on this back cable. So just put that on the side. I don't feel anything that you can press. Wait. Oh, dang, that's tiny. Is it? I'm pretty sure. Is that? How tiny is it? Wait, let me see it. Oh, dang. I don't think my thumb is as big as that. Dang. Alright, that's gonna be hard to get. I might have to use a flathead screwdriver or a pliers to press that. Alright. So we ended up not being able to figure out how to take out the other cable, but now we pushed back the pump so that we were able to take out this hose. So as you can see, now it's out. It's also leaking a bit of coolant, so you might need to put a drain pan under or stuff something in the hose in order to keep something from going out. So now we should be able to finagle this around to see. Just make sure that you don't touch any of the brake line. So that brake line in the back there, make sure you don't damage that while you're trying to finagle it. But once we do, we finagle it back to its original position, we should be able to loop it up and see, like bend it up and see what it looks like. Alright, so we were able to finagle the whole pump so that we could see the back side. And what you want to do is we looked at the back and we saw that there was this sort of gap right here that you could insert a flathead screwdriver into. So right here. And what you want to do, I don't want my hand to be the majority of it. So what you want to do is you want to sort of, while you're holding it so that it doesn't follow you, you want to sort of wedge it, or you can either turn the flathead screwdriver to push the button up, or you could try to leverage it out. But there you go. So this is actually like really weird. So what you want to do is just want to insert it and then either leverage it or turn it. It's a really weird clamp. I've never seen this before. Huh. But that's what it looks like. Okay, so now we should be able to... Let me put this down. Now we should be able to take out the pump. Let me see if there's anything... Oh, okay, so now we're just going to finagle it out. Make sure that we don't touch any important parts like the brake lines. Then eventually... Whew, finally, we take it out. And let me wipe my hands. This is the comparison. I think this is a bit... They look just about the same. Wow. Alright, so this video has gotten a bit too long. So we're going to end part 1 right here for now. And we're going to have a part 2 for installation. I'm sure that installation is the same as removal, just in reverse. But if you need to see the video, go check it out. And I'm Aiman, and thanks for watching. I just showed you how to remove the auxiliary water heater pump from a 2004 to 2009 Toyota Prius. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and look at other videos on EyeOnAiman, especially the auto repair videos. And I'll see you next time. Signing out. Peace.